What's up, beautiful people? Welcome to the Dr. Joy Show, your prescription for total wellness, and I'm your host, Dr. Joy. Today, we have someone very special. Yeah, he's a famous actor, famous award-winning playwright, actor, and I'm not going to finish it. You're gonna have to stay. You're gonna have to stay with me. Because you know what we do on the Dr. Joy Show. We take it down with 3 deep breaths. Are you ready? Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Last one. Inhale. Exhale. How do you feel? I know I feel great. Well, without further ado, I want to introduce to you Jack Fry. Jack, thank you for being on the Dr. Joy Show.
Delighted, excited, and ready to go.
You are an award-winning, first of all, this is your passion to act, right?
Sure. Yeah.
You are an award-winning playwright, actor, and solo artist you're coming from LA. Yes, he came all the way from the West Coast to be on the Dr. Joy Show and, of course, perform Einstein.
Yes.
Wow, celebrating 100 years in relativity, right? But, you know, I want to actually talk about your awards just for the viewers. Jack Fry has achieved several distinctions. Check this out. Einstein was the pick of the fringe and encore winner from 2016 Hollywood International Fringe Festival. Number 2, Einstein was selected as top 10 shows to see at the 2016 New York Fringe Festival, and it was a sold-out run. Do you know what that means? That means every single performance he did, it was sold out. Standing room only. Number 3, Jack Fry has been selected as the best actor of the London Fringe Festival. Okay, so he's got some international distinctions for his portrayal in Albert Einstein by the London Press in Ontario. And number 4, he's got many more, but I'm only going to talk to you about this last one. Jack also received an endorsement from Stephen Colbert. From the Colbert Report for his performance in Mr. Fry. Jack, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
So now, what inspired you to be an actor?
Well, I think it was as a little kid. I really believe that type of profession you don't pick, it sort of picks you. So if being an actor is a little bit like saying to your parents, I want to be a poet.
Right.
So they kind of go in panic mode. So I think it picked me. So I don't really say that I want to be one. I just say that I am one. But what inspired me, I'd say initially, were watching some of those old musicals as a kid, like Oliver or those old Frank Sinatra, Bing Crosby musicals, those things, and.
So when did you get started then? Because Oliver Twist you're talking about.
Yeah, you know how they used to play
that's
those?
a long time ago. So how old were you?
Oh, well, I saw the reruns. Maybe 15. I'm not talking about its first release, but I'm talking about the reruns you'd see all the time on late night TV.
So through your training, so let's say you started maybe when you were 15, so you were in high school. So did you start your training there, and what kind of training, what's your technique?
Well, I started out in a comedy troupe. I was a magician, ventriloquist, and juggler. And my first gig was actually, real paying gig was being a ventriloquist for Valley Fair Amusement Park in Shakopee, Minnesota.
Okay.
And I got into it that way. And then when I got into college, I got more into the acting, and I studied Meisner, Adam Rourke's Film Actor Lab, and a plethora of different teachers they were teaching at the time. But my parents would not let me major in acting or drama or theater. So
why not?
well, they just thought it was, if they were going to I was lucky enough for them to fork the bill for it. So they said, if you're going to do something practical. So I went to the next step. I majored in broadcast journalism, a little bit what you're doing.
Oh,
So,
see?
So they wouldn't let me, but it was a cousin. It was a cousin.
So you were able to weave in broadcast journalism. You also speak fluent Spanish. You're also a credentialed teacher out in Los Angeles. So you weaved all of that in, and then you added sprinkle of your passion, and you put it on stage. They call you Mr. Fry. Tell me more about that.
Well, that's about my first year teaching fifth grade in South Los Angeles, and true story. It's autobiographical, and I found it fascinating when you're a teacher. You're usually sort of naive and new to the game, and you really want to make a difference in all these kids' lives, and you're very passionate. And before you get sort of become a hardened veteran, and I wanted to take that sort of energy and apply it to this story. And so I ended up doing 365 performances of that. I did do command performances for the Department of Education with Ernie Duncan in the audience. He's Secretary of Education under Obama, and I've had a lot of fun with it. It's sort of my bread and butter show, and so I've been doing that for a while and still enjoy doing it.
So you have done Mr. Fry. They call you Mr. Fry, 365 performances, but now you're doing Einstein. So do you do both of them?
I'll do one, then maybe the other, and then I'll whatever the venue wants. I'll do them.
So did you write that one yourself?
I wrote both of them. My first one is autobiographical. I tell it with the kids' artifacts, some of their things that they created in class. It's really about relationship with two students and how we affected each other's lives. And it really focuses on their story and interweaves our story together. And Einstein is about, it's the younger Albert Einstein. Most people think of him as the older guy. It's the pre-crazy haired Einstein.
Okay.
It's about his fight for relativity up to 1921, just before he wins the Nobel Prize. It's sort of him at his peak, and while people are trying to, he's up against the establishment, people trying to steal his theories, messy divorce with his wife. The heart of the show is the relationship with his 10-year-old son, and anti-Semitism, of course, failed eclipse after failed eclipse, huge scientific backlash, thoughts of suicide, and meanwhile it comes up with a theory that really changed the way we live our lives, our modern lives. It really is the personal dramatic story that ushered in our modern technological lives.
Now, I did a little research on you, and one fact that came up is that it took 3 years for you to create Einstein.
Yeah, I sort of realized when you're doing a biography on somebody else, it really takes a lifetime to study someone's lifetime. But I did I had about a year and a half of going, okay, I know what story I want to tell, and then another year and a half to getting my first draft. My first draft was like 80 pages with like 19 characters. It was just way over the top. So I cut it down, cut the page count in half, and cut the characters in half and simplified it. And so I have what I have now. I usually do a Q&A after the show, just so I don't. I think it's interesting for the audience, but I only use an iceberg's tip of my show, and underneath is really all the research that I did. So I use about 1/10 of my research for the show.
What gave you the impetus to do Einstein, though? And yes, that's part A. Y'all know I have two parts. That's part A, and then part two is, why did you want to play the role of Einstein?
Well, part A of why I wanted it, how I got into it was that I've always been interested in metaphysics, and by that I mean ESP, astroplaning, different dimensions, things that can pretty much be proven through quantum physics. Well, Einstein, it's one of his miracle papers. Didn't know that at the time, but I went in, I wanted to see what Einstein thought of these. what did he think about metaphysics and all that. And as I was researching it, I really couldn't find a lot. I found a fair amount on spiritualism, because during that time in the 20s was that heyday. And I came across this story, and I sort of went, wow, I really have to tell this story, because it's a very inspirational and heroic story that I think a lot of people can identify with.
Wow, I can't wait to actually see it. Now, would you be able to tell me what your favorite part is in Einstein?
Oh man, there's so many parts in it. I don't know if I really the whole thing is my favorite part. I love doing it, but he has some. A lot of people don't realize that he was really funny, and he wasn't a humorist in a way that Twain was, but Albert Einstein was funny and said some really things that were humorous. For instance, he had some very funny comments about marriage.
Sure.
So one of his comments was, marriage is the unsuccessful attempt to make something lasting based on an incident. All marriage is dangerous. Women marry men hoping that they will change, but men marry women hoping they will not, so each is disappointed. And sex is the price all women must pay for marriage. Poor dears. But marriage is the price we men must pay for sex. Is that fair? So he has got some funny things.
Thank you.
He's got some funny things
wow.
about that he said about marriage. So.
And you know what? What you just said in those lines, I mean, there's some truth to that.
Oh yeah.
There's a lot of truth to that.
Oh, yeah.
And we won't go into it now. But who are your favorite actors?
I would say I'm kind of old school. First of all, the people of today, I love Johnny Depp. I think he can play Little Miss Muffet if he wanted to.
Oh.
He is a great actor.
Okay.
Just to me, I like the actors that metamorphose, that can change into something else. Laurence Olivier was one of my favorites. A lot of people don't know who he is.
Now you're going back. You're going way back.
I'm going way back,
yes.
But you can see some of his work. A lot of the stuff is filmed on stage. And one of his favorite things to do was when he was doing 2 or 3 plays at a time, was to hop. He'd hop from one theater, then go down into another theater. Is that people wouldn't recognize him from one thing to another, so he put on some things. So they'd have to actually look at the program to recognize him. And there are some other really good charismatic actors that are out there that I like. I like Jamie Foxx. I think he does I think he does a lot of great stuff. And I like everybody from Ryan Gosling to Richard Burton to I like most of the people, but those people inspire me.
Wow, that's great. What was the hardest role you've ever played?
Well, I would say the hardest role is doing a one-person show, because you're basically acting out the whole film in front of everybody. You're acting out everything. It's like doing a whole film.
2.5 hours too, right?
Well, if you combine them, each show is about 80 minutes. But
It's a long time.
Yeah, I would say that is the most challenging, because there's no stop, there's no retakes, and you got to remember all the lines. You got to remember where that character is at that time.
So yeah, because theater is the real deal. It's very different than television. I know that I had a short stint on Off-Broadway when I did a production, Casey 30 Years Later, and I played actually 4 roles plus myself. So knowing all of the lines and the cues, when to come in, changing, you have to step into character, and we could talk about that later. But what has been the biggest challenge in your career thus far?
Well, pulling off these one-person shows, I'd say. I would say that is the ultimate challenge for an actor. I mean, I have done film, and that has its challenges too.
Right.
They shoot out of order, and you have to have the right emotion for the right time. At least in stage, you're building up to these emotions. Film has its challenges. You've got to be there at that emotional section, no matter what order they shoot it.
Right.
And there's a lot of waiting around time, and then you get your 5 minutes finally, and you got to zone in right there. But This
Yeah.
is a stage is a non-stop process, and not only that, Montgomery Clift, who's also one of my favorites, said the good thing about film is that once you get that performance in the can, you don't have to repeat it.
Right.
But here in
Ugh.
theater, you have to, okay, can I get there like I did the other night?
Right.
Yeah. And you've got to gear yourself up every time you get out there.
Because every performance is brand new.
Yeah.
Even it's brand new for the audience, even though they've seen it multiple times. I mean, you can have people there that have seen it multiple times, and you as an actor have to treat it as a brand new experience.
You do.
So you have
do.
to bring it
Yeah.
100% each and every performance.
That's right.
Yeah, it is a challenge. How do you prepare your mind?
A little bit like what you do, prepare your show. Go in a little bit of a meditative state, I think, and make sure you get yourself focused and push everything else aside.
And that's
Yeah.
tough too, because you have
It
all
is.
kinds of things.
There's all sorts of noise out there.
all kinds of noise.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
so you do meditation. So, you know what? I want you to share your regime. How do you keep yourself in shape? Because doing that one man show can take a toll on you.
That's a good question. I have students that I teach this process to, and it's not a bubble bath, and it certainly is. I tell them you have to be a little bit like an Olympic athlete, like a tennis player who trains in the sense that body and mind keep in shape. Like this morning, I jogged on their treadmill for a half hour,
Good for
just
you.
so I can keep the body going, and then it's hard to keep placidly peaceful in all the noise and haste that's going on. So it's important to take some time out to center yourself, and even if it's just 5 minutes a day, and something I try to do before I go on stage, and I have a list of mantras that are important that keep me focused.
Yeah.
So
One of my favorite mantras from my acting coach, Bob McAndrew, and yeah, I called him out. He would have us all repeat, "I am who I am, and it's good to be me." Well, I kind of changed it because I'm a little different. I say, "I am who I am because it's great to be me," and saying that gives you the confidence before you go on stage, before you meet someone new, and it just jump starts your day. Yeah. So your hobbies are, I did a little research. You mentioned tennis.
I love tennis. I'm huge. I need a tennis intervention. I mean, I love to go out tennis anytime I can. I'm surprised I didn't bring my racket. I usually bring my racket with me when I'm on the road, but I usually try to bring it with me if I can remember it. So
Teaching. What's
Teaching.
your favorite subject to teach?
probably American history. I think we have a really unique history that's different than European history, and every history is unique. It has its own special.
Right.
But this particularly fascinates me, and how this whole country came to being. All the good and bad, but it's still fascinating.
Is that what you taught those fifth graders, American history? You taught the fifth graders?
I
in
did. That's that
LA?
year. That fifth grade is the year for American history in California. So,
Okay.
and I find that fascinating.
And you say you juice.
Oh yes. Well, this is a health program, so I figured I'd give one of my. I'm a huge juicer. I try to have fresh juice every day. I've gone through like 10 juicers, the centrifugal ones.
Right.
And then,
What's your favorite one?
well, the best one is the Norwalk press, and to buy a new one of those is like $2,200, so it's very
Okay.
expensive. But you can get a used one, and they'll tell you. I bought mine. Mine was built as a model number from the 70s, but they'll even tell you, and it's got a lifetime warranty. They'll tell you that hey, those juice just as good as the brand new ones. In fact, it's a juicing technology from Norwalk, the guy who invented it, and from the 30s. So, and it's the best use technology you can get today. That's what they give the cancer patients and stuff, because it juices 3 to 5 times more than the centrifugal juicer. I'm sorry, I'm sounding like an evangelist.
No, that's okay.
It's hard not to. When
No,
you
but
become
that's okay. But you drink
I try to
juice
do
every day.
one 16-ounce fresh squeezed carrot, apple, spinach.
Well, I
try
have
mix it
to
in.
after we're down, I have to tell you about a place here in Princeton that you will love, and actually,
wow.
I'm going there after the show.
Okay.
So, but you like long distance stuff too. You do mountain biking.
Yeah, I have a mountain bike. I live in Santa Monica, so I'm about 10-minute mountain bikes, and I try to do that when I have time. There's some trails up there that I really enjoy.
So you're into the tennis, you're into the mountain biking. You know the hardest working muscle in the body is the heart. So you have a lot of cardio, and it helps keep your mind clear as well.
It does.
Right? Wow. So now, what's your goal for 2017?
Well, my goal is to inspire and to educate, edutainment in a sense with my shows that I do, and to keep to keep spreading the word, as far as my performance goes, and teaching as well, because I'm a fully credentialed teacher, and
Yes.
I'm not a full-time teacher like I used to be, but I still substitute, and I'm still connected with these schools that I go to, which is great. And I go to a lot of the same schools when I have time, and it's fun because the kids are adorable. They're like, "Hey, Mr. Fry, hey, are you teaching us today? Are you teaching us? Please, oh, Mr. Fry." And then I bring my puppets, and I bring the balloons and things like that to inspire them, to get them to work hard.
But even though you might not be teaching in the classroom, when you're on stage and you're doing Einstein and you're doing Mr. Fry, you're teaching.
You'll see this. The show that I do has got really cool 3-dimensional graphics in it, and you will get an armchair idea of relativity, and you'll be able to, talk about it. But you'll also be able to see, what he went through, and I think people will be able to identify to their own lives, going, "Well, I have to struggle too." Some people think, "Oh, Einstein just sat and wrote all these great formulas from office."
He had a lot of failures.
Yeah, I mean, he had published 5 incorrect versions of relativity before he got the correct one.
See?
And
Wow.
so he struggled like all of us.
So what advice do you have for inspiring actors out there?
I would say, without the cliche, hang in there, but that's kind of what you have to do.
Keep doing it.
And if you really feel that you're, like I say, I think the profession chooses you in a sense, but if you feel that way, and if you feel strongly towards it, keep doing it. And also, if it comes to the point you're not enjoying it anymore and it's not fun, maybe it's time to try something else.
Oh, yeah. You have to be passionate. To be on stage, to be on television, that passion has to be there. Or for whatever it is, the passion should be there.
And it's exactly, whatever it is. And therefore, if it's not acting, I think everyone's great in Einstein and something in their life.
They just have to find it. They have to find it. And sometimes they don't have the time. People will say, "Oh, well, I don't know how to find my passion." My recommendation would be sit still or be still and let it come to you. And your passion is what you would do day in, day out, whether there's a paycheck or not. And as long as you're having a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So you are performing Einstein at, where are you? In Princeton.
I'm in
right?
Princeton. I'm for Pi Day.
Right.
It's at the Paul Robeson Center of the Arts, the Princeton Arts Council,
Okay.
and on Witherspoon.
2 performances,
2
correct?
performances.
And for those of my viewers that aren't able to see your performance in Princeton, where are you?
Well, in June and July, I'm going to be in Los Angeles and Santa Monica, and then I'm going July, I'm going to be in Pella. And in July, I'm going to be in Cincinnati.
Okay.
And in the fall, I'm going to Pella, it's Iowa. I'm going to be in Northampton, Massachusetts in November, and possibly Boston too.
So where can we find your schedule?
EinsteinThePlay.com. EinsteinThePlay.com. You can find the schedule, and you can contact me too if you like.
And how can we contact you?
Go to the contact page.
Oh, on there?
On there. It'll
Okay.
have my contact information.
Wow. Jack, I want to
fun.
thank you for
Thank
being
you.
on the
It's fun.
Dr. Joy Show.
Thank you so
And
much.
I want you to break legs
I will.
during your performance tomorrow,
I
and I
will.
will be there in the audience.
I can't wait to see you there.
I can't wait to be there. Okay, you've heard it. Einstein, celebrating 100 years of relativity. Jack Fry, award-winning actor, playwright, credentialed teacher, came all the way from Los Angeles to be here on the Dr. Joy Show. Bottom line, find your passion, go after it. Until next time, be blessed, stay healthy. See ya!